In 1981, Williamsville, New York represented the peak of the American dream. The streets were quiet and safe, home to a community of doctors, attorneys, and executives living in pristine colonial-style houses. The Goggins family lived on a corner lot on Paradise Road, their status broadcast by the fleet in their driveway, a new black Corvette, a Mercedes 450 SLC, and a 1962 Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud. To the neighbors, they were the tip of the spear of affluent America. Every morning at 7 a.m., Trunnis Goggins stood in that driveway in tailored suits, greeting the neighborhood with a warm, open smile. But the second he stepped inside, that smile collapsed into a scowl. In these neighborhoods, a perfect lawn and a luxury car serve as a shield. When people see the outward signs of success they expect, they rarely look closer, leaving domestic terror to hide in plain sight. The source of the family's wealth was Skateland, a massive roller disco rink located in the heart of Buffalo's Maston district. Every night, hundreds of skaters flooded the floor, moving through a disco-funk fantasy of red lights and mirror balls. It was a high-energy, high-revenue operation that made Trunnis a local power player. The rink was a cultural landmark, where icons like Rick James and stars from the Buffalo Bills came to party. To the public, it was a thriving family business, but the reality for the children was far darker. While the celebrities partied, 6-year-old David worked until midnight. He spent his nights on a step stool, inhaling aerosol skate deodorizer and eventually cleaning blood and waste out of the bathrooms long after the customers had gone home. Trunnis maintained total financial dominance. His wife, Jackie, acted as the cashier, but she was never allowed a bank account or any money of her own, effectively making her an unpaid servant in her own life. Skateland wasn't a family legacy. It was a mechanism of control. It generated thousands of dollars a night while ensuring the people working the floor remained entirely dependent and trapped. Discipline was a ritual of anticipation. Trunnis forced his sons to lie in dark rooms and wait for the sound of the door opening, stretching out the silence before the first strike of his belt. The violence reached a peak the night Trunnis dragged Jackie down the stairs by her hair. Seeing his mother bleeding, 6-year-old David lunged at his father, throwing his weight onto the man's back in a desperate attempt to stop the assault. When the police finally arrived, they ignored Jackie's injuries. They joked with Trunnis, accepting his explanation that he was simply maintaining order in his home. When the law sides with your abuser, the isolation is total. You realize that no one is coming to save you, and you are forced to either remain a victim or find a way to run. Jackie's escape was a calculated, months-long play. She feigned total submission to Trunnis, eventually convincing him to co-sign a credit card application that gave her the first shred of financial independence she'd had in years. The final break happened at the kitchen table. When Jackie announced she was leaving, David didn't hesitate. He immediately went upstairs and began packing his entire life away into black garbage bags. To lose Trunnis, they hid in a neighbor's garage off a dirt road, watching from the shadows as he sped onto the highway to hunt them down. The journey to Indiana was a series of breakdowns. Their car failed in Pennsylvania, forcing them to spend a night in a hotel conference room, sleeping on rollaway beds while they waited for a chance to move again. They eventually reached Brazil, Indiana, escaping the physical reach of Trunnis Goggins. But as they settled into a new life, they realized the trauma they had endured had already left a permanent mark. This is the neurological reality of toxic stress. When a child is exposed to consistent abuse, their stress spikes cross a threshold that creates a new baseline. The brain becomes locked in a permanent state of fight or flight. This constant hyperarousal began to break David's body. He developed a severe stutter. Chunks of his hair began to fall out, and his skin was covered in white splotches. The school system struggled to interpret these symptoms. While one nun saw his potential and spent hours helping him catch up, a later teacher dismissed him as a lost cause and tried to move him into a school for special students. David responded to this by becoming a master of deception. He began cheating on every test and assignment, doing whatever it took to avoid being sent away, even as it ensured he wasn't actually learning. This is the hidden trap of childhood trauma. It builds invisible walls in the mind, convincing you that you are fundamentally broken and incapable of reaching the same heights as others. The statistics are grim. Children from abusive homes face a 53% higher probability of juvenile arrest and a 38% increase in likelihood of committing a violent crime. These numbers represent the bad hand, the unchosen, destructive conditions Dated was forced to play with. Everyone is dealt a bad hand. For some, it's physical abuse or systemic neglect. For others, it's the lack of friction from a life so comfortable you never learned struggle. You must identify the specific factors limiting your growth today. Is it an environment that overlooks you, a past that haunts you, or standing in your own way? Denying your bad hand gives it power over your subconscious. You have to document your disadvantages before you can begin to dismantle them. Stop hiding from your history. Get a journal and write down every excuse and every piece of trauma in detail. Giving those memories a physical shape is the only way to stop them from controlling you. As you press that pen into paper, you convert fear into a darker, more usable energy. It's the pivot to hate over fear. Take ownership of your dirty laundry. Every valid excuse you have for failing is actually the exact fuel you need to flip the script and win. Your story doesn't end with the hand you were dealt. So what is your bad hand?